Oh, hello. I was just reading some Deadpool. Specific, you all probably remember my unboxing video where I unboxed this specific Deadpool graphic novel, which was written by Gail Simone. It feels appropriate since I'm doing a commentary on the first Deadpool film. Get to show off the first Deadpool comic I ever bought, and also my Deadpool comic box. And of course, being someone who also loves DC, check it out. Batman and Deadpool. I must admit, I never thought I would see a crossover like this ever. I probably would have expected a Batman-Spider-Man crossover or something like that, but hey, I'm really happy to see these crossovers. But enough about the comics. You're here to see the commentary to Deadpool, so I'll say my usual spiel of, Deadpool is available to stream on these platforms currently as of this upload. You can watch it over there, or if you're old-fashioned, you can also watch Deadpool on DVD if you're old-fashioned. But anyway, sit back, relax, and enjoy this commentary on Deadpool. It's chimichanga time, bitches! Welcome to Commentary Companions. I'm your host, Tony Garcia, and today I'm doing a commentary for Deadpool, the 2016 movie. Man, I can't believe that this film is officially 10 years old. It only feels like yesterday that I watched this film in theaters on a Friday, specifically premiere day, February 12th. And I've said this before, and I've said it many times, like how Deadpool was the first R-rated movie that I ever watched without a parent or a guardian accompanying me. You have to remember, with the R rating, it's like if you're under 17, you need a parent to be there to watch the film. But yeah, like I said, I have such a soft spot for this film, and I am really excited to really be doing this because I really do like this film, and Commentary Companions is very much built on the back of Deadpool, because the idea of Commentary Companions was based on a joke like, wouldn't it be funny if Deadpool did commentaries for some of the other X-Men films? And so here I am getting to do this, and also I like how this film starts with a hilarious credits title sequence with showing the honest titles of who's starring in this film, and so on and so forth. And the fact that we got this film in the first place is a miracle in of itself, because this film almost didn't happen for obvious reasons. And I'm going to give you the facts as this film goes around. But I'm sure if Deadpool was here, he'd want me to shut the fuck up. But, that's not how Commentary Companions works, Deadpool. Sorry. Now, Deadpool went through a revolving door of studios that held the rights to the character. In the early 2000s, Marvel made a deal with Artisan Entertainment to make a Deadpool movie. This was also back when Artisan held the movie rights to Captain America, Black Widow, Black Panther, and of course, The Punisher. And I mentioned the many Marvel characters that Artisan held the rights to in my Commentary Companions episode to The Punisher. But anyway, when Lionsgate bought Artisan and the latter company folded into the former, the rights to Deadpool transferred to Lionsgate. Lionsgate showed little interest in Deadpool, and the rights reverted back to Marvel. Ironically, Deadpool would appear in a Marvel movie distributed by Lionsgate, that film being Hulk vs. Wolverine. In 2003, Marvel gave the movie rights to Deadpool to New Line Cinema, the same company that held the rights to Blade and Iron Man. David S. Goyer was going to make this movie, and he, Avi Arad, Deadpool co-creator Fabian Nicieza, and an unnamed executive believed Ryan Reynolds should play Deadpool. The plans to make the film at New Line Cinema fell apart after Blade Trinity, but Ryan Reynolds believed it would be better for Deadpool to be at Fox due to his X-Men roots, and in 2005, 20th Century Fox bought the rights to Deadpool. And here's Dopinder. Now, you may be shocked to learn this, but
Dopinder was created specifically for the film and was named after a childhood friend that Ryan Reynolds knew who tragically died after being struck by lightning. And so Dopinder was pretty much named in honor of this childhood friend. Now, Dopinder's actor, Karan Soni, would voice Pavatar Prabhakar, aka Spider-Man India, in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I think that's hilariously ironic. And yeah, I think Karan Soni is a very good Spider-Man India. Now, ironically, before moving to New Line Cinema, 20th Century Fox owned the rights to Iron Man from 1996 to 1999. I mean, 2005 was not an easy year for New Line Cinema. I mean, yeah. Imagine in 2005, New Line Cinema is forced to give up the rights to Iron Man and to give up the rights to Deadpool. And of course, things would probably go smooth for Iron Man eventually. Deadpool, on the other hand, had an uphill battle. I mean, this film literally didn't happen, and Green Lantern did not do Ryan Reynolds any favors. Dun dun dun. Well, there's Ajax, whose real name is Francis Freeman. Now, Ajax made his comic book debut in Deadpool number 14 in March of 1998, created by Joe Kelly and Walter A. McDaniel. Oh, wow. You know he means business. Now, before making his directorial debut, Tim Miller was a visual effects artist, doing title sequences in Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and Thor the Dark World. He did a 6-minute trainer for DC Universe Online. Now, was that racist? I mean, saying fucking mutant really shows how bigoted this guy is. Uh-oh. You know, 20th Century Fox was literally hoping X-Men Apocalypse would be more successful than Deadpool. They had little faith in Deadpool due to the R rating, hence the lower budget, and X-Men Apocalypse had a $178 million budget and released it in February. And February is often considered a graveyard release month for movies. Now, like I said, the critical and financial failure of Green Lantern discouraged Fox from making Deadpool. But despite that, Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds and Tim Miller did some filming that pretty much filmed some CG test footage with Ryan Reynolds doing motion capture, doing an exact sequence like this. I thought you said smooth, hairy criminals. Hairy, smooth criminals. But I remember seeing the demo sequence. It's like after filming the demo sequence, Fox had absolutely no faith in Deadpool and immediately shelved the project, kind of almost canceling it. On July 27th, the CG test footage of the movie leaked online, making fans demand the film be greenlit because they saw the potential. The fans saw the potential in this CG test, and this entire action sequence is pretty much based on the CG test. Some say that Ryan Reynolds leaked the test footage, and while everyone denies it, even Ryan Reynolds has kind of joked around and saying, "Yeah, I leaked the test footage." That's gonna hurt. And honestly, seeing this in theaters was so wild for the first time. I cherish the fact that I got to see Deadpool in theaters. And this was during a Lenten Friday, and I was still attending Tritech, so I do have a soft spot for this film. Now, I'm going to guess that the original budget of the film was going to be $66 million. Oh boy. It must be serious if Deadpool tells you not to swallow a cigar lighter. Anyway, like I said, I'm going to guess that the original budget of the film was $66 million. I say this because the original budget was greatly impacted by the financial failure of the 2015 Fantastic Four movie. Fox panicked when Fantastic Four bombed, and they slashed out $8 million, lowering it to $58 million, forcing the writers to change the third act. Now, you have to remember, Deadpool's budget is literally lower than the budget of the first X-Men movie that was released in 2000, which was at $75 million. That's, and of course, by today's standards, that's $145 million by today's standards. And there's the new Colossus, and this Colossus is a massive improvement over Daniel Cudmore's portrayal of the character. Even I agree. But yeah, I mean, Daniel Cudmore was offered to reprise his role, but when he found out that he was going to be dubbed, he immediately declined, and so Colossus was physically portrayed by actor Andrei Trikoto, and his voice actor was Stefan Kapisic, who is a Serbian actor. Stefan Kapisic has done Serbian dubbing for various cartoons. He was the Serbian voice of James for the Serbian dub to Pokemon for 5 seasons. He voiced Captain Hook for the Serbian dub to Peter Pan Return to Neverland, and he voiced Riley's dad for the Serbian dub to Inside Out. And shoot, I didn't get to mention Negasonic Teenage Warhead's origins, but, eventually I will. Now, I've mentioned before that Fabian Nicieza and Rob Liefeld introduced Deadpool in New Mutants number 98. Deadpool would receive his first solo series in 1997. Deadpool would start breaking the fourth wall and start becoming a much more wisecracking character in Deadpool number 28. I can't place the name, but the face rings a Southern bell. Published in May of 1999. Written by Joe Kelly and illustrated by Pete Woods. Now, Rob Liefeld was inspired by the Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito comedy Twins when conceiving Wade's Weapon X backstory, jokingly comparing him to Danny DeVito's character Julius against Wolverine's perfected Schwarzenegger. In case you're wondering what the hell I'm talking about, in the movie Twins, which was directed by the late Ivan Reitman, basically Arnold Schwarzenegger's character Julius... why did I say Danny DeVito was Julius? I'm so sorry. But anyway, Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, Julius, pretty much was meant to be like a super soldier, almost like this perfect super soldier. But at the last minute, the cell that was conceiving Julius suddenly split, pretty much resulting in Danny DeVito's character in the film. But apparently, according to the scientists, Danny DeVito's character... now I need to look up the character. Okay, yeah, and plus the best part about Commentary Companions is I can watch the film and enjoy it. Okay, who did Danny DeVito play in Twins? Okay, yeah, Danny DeVito played Vincent, who's basically... The idea of Vincent is that he's the cell that split at the last second before Julius was born, and apparently he was basically the leftover crap from Julius. So he was the imperfect twin, which does make for a great comedy because it's almost like the typical tall guy and short guy pairing of. In comedy, which is always a great trope in comedy. And look at that, all 12 bullets. And of course, I remember in the PG-13 release version of the trailer, he would always end it with, "Oh, I'm very turned on." Nope. But damn, can he take a bullet? And he's pissed off. Yes, he's so pissed off he's about to roll up his sleeves. Whammy. Now, Deadpool would first confront the X-Men in X-Force number 2 and would confront Wolverine in Wolverine number 88. That latter issue was published on December 10th, 1994, written by Larry Hama and illustrated by Adam Kubert and Fabio Laguna. And look at that, it's showing off his ass, an ass in jeans. And I believe the title says 2 years ago. Yep, surprise! Oop. A poker game, huh? A tip, huh? Yep, surprise! Maybe the next door neighbor? Or maybe his girlfriend who brings a cat? Flosky. Yeah, a pineapple and olive pizza. Okay, when I was still back 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I used to work at a pizza joint known as New York Richie's, and I was a dishwasher at New York Richie's. And after I had seen the first Deadpool film, I immediately wanted to try a pizza with olives and pepperoni, which was the perfect combo, especially during Lent, so I could eat a meat-free pizza with olives and pineapple. And trust me, it was really good. Also, when I was editing my review for Deadpool, I actually did use this clip of Deadpool Wade warning Jeremy about having hard spots. Apparently, this must have been the clip that might have got YouTube to delete my video review, and I had to make it a clip-free review for the most part, much to my chagrin. I was so mad because I put in all that effort, and I had to re-edit a new version that would appease the gods at YouTube. So yes, I am kind of disgruntled about that. But yeah. How it's done. I love how aware Deadpool Wade is of that. Must be abandoned. Yeah. Yep, and that's co-creator Rob Liefeld. Hey, look, kids, it's a falling star. Make a wish. But anyway, all jokes aside, Weasel's first actual name is Jackhammer. You heard me right. jackhammer. But anyway, Weasel made his comic book debut in Cable number 3 in July of 1993, created by Fabian Nicieza and Klaus Janson. Weasel's other aliases are The Penetrator, The House, and Patient Zero. I can't believe that I can't believe that I have to write all that. Yep, Kahlua Bailey's. I could probably make a cocktail like that. I'll admit, for the most part, T.J. Miller was pretty decent in the first 2 Deadpool films, but knowing how much of an asshole he is, I'm kind of glad he was taken out of Deadpool 3. And of course, I'm never going to be watching the Emoji Movie anytime soon, unless I get paid sponsors. Actually, I like that Buck appeared in the later 2 sequels as well. Womp 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 womp. Now, of course, you may be wondering, what the hell is a Deadpool? And, of course, the Deadpool is a betting pool to see who would most likely get killed. Hence the Deadpool, because you remember, pool is also a term for betting. Actually, now I need to look up when did the pool idea become when did the pool become slang term for betting? When did pool become slang for betting? There's Morena Baccarin as Vanessa Carlyle. Oop. Big mistake. Yeah, that. Now, the term pool became slang for betting in the 19th century, specifically stemming from the collective wagers placed on horse races. The word originates from the 17th century French term poule, Poule, might be poulet, literally hen, which referred to a collective pot or stakes contributed by multiple players in a game. In the mid-1800s, dedicated betting parlors for horse racing, where participants would pool their money together, were widely popular in the United States and England. These gambling establishments were commonly referred to as pool rooms. To keep patrons entertained and occupied between horse races, these pool rooms frequently installed billiards tables. Over time, people began to associate the game with the gambling rooms, and the term pool became synonymous with pocket billiards. And, well, now you know, and knowing is only half the battle. Of course, Deadpool is not the first time that Morena Baccarin has dipped her pretty toes into comic book lore, because she was also the voice of Black Canary on Justice League Unlimited, and would also voice Talia al Ghul in Son of Batman and Batman Bad Blood, and she would also play Dr. Leslie Tompkins in on Gotham, where she would collaborate with actor James McKenzie. Ben McKenzie. Ben McKenzie playing a young James Gordon, and the two would pretty much hook up and get married. I did not know she and Ben McKenzie were a thing. I wonder if they're still married. Yep, Morena Baccarin is still married to Ben McKenzie, and I'd say good on them. I'm happy for them. I mean, Ben McKenzie is a happy guy. I mean, he's a lucky guy, you know? Now, you can erase stuff. Womp womp. It's actually cool to note that these two are fans of Voltron. Also, yes, I do love that this is how their relationship starts. Now, Fabian Nicieza and Rob Liefeld revealed Wade's relationship with Vanessa in X-Force number 19 in 1992. Ah, very specific. You're the dog. Well, good night, everybody. This was how I discovered pecking, by the way. Holy intimacy coordinator, Batman. Also, I love that this Lent is the time that they don't have sex, which is pretty funny. He's going down on her with vampire teeth. I know what they're thankful for. I mean, I'm sure a pretentious Christian would say that Wade was not in love with Vanessa, and was more into and was looking at her with lust in his eyes, and it was more lust than love. But to that pretentious Christian that would say that, fuck off. It's like, fuck off, man. For all I know, you're probably cheating behind your wife and then getting an abortion to hide the evidence of your adultery, so quit acting like you're holier than Wade. And if anything, most Christians are no better than Wade Wilson. At least Wade Wilson is honest about how sleazy he is. Most right-wing Christians pretty much have to hide how sleazy they are, until it turns out, oh, they hooked up with a kid. Looks like they're a pedophile. In case this is bad taste, I want to apologize, but I'm not going to apologize for mocking right-wing Christians. Oh boy, hiding it up his ass. He died of dysentery. When 20th Century Fox refused to pay the writers of the film, Red Reese and Paul Wernick for on-set input, Ryan Reynolds paid out of his own pocket for them to be on set to look over the film. Reese stated, "We were on set every day. Interestingly, Ryan wanted us there. We were on the project for 6 years. It was really a core creative team of us, Ryan and director Tim Miller. Fox, interestingly, wouldn't pay for us to be on set. Ryan Reynolds paid out of his own money, out of his own pockets." Now, of course, I mentioned that Vanessa kind of debuted in New Mutants number 98 because she impersonated a Domino. It's complicated, and of course, if you want to talk about, learn about Vanessa's history with Marvel, go watch my review of Deadpool 2. He's not wrong about the train wrecks. Fuck, he's hot. Well, that's not good. You know, I think Wade could have easily found out about the stage 1 if he had checked earlier. I'm just saying. Now, through the Make-A-Wish Foundation, 13-year-old Connor McGrath, a terminally ill fan from Edmonton, requested to attend a special event for Deadpool in January, which turned out to be one of the 2 special screenings in New York and Los Angeles for the fans. He couldn't make it due to the severity of his illness. Ryan Reynolds heard his story, traveled to Edmonton, and surprised him with a private special screening of the film. Reynolds said the boy was the first person ever to see the film. They kept in touch until Connor's passing a few months later. Reynolds paid tribute to him on a social media page. All I can say is, bless Ryan Reynolds' heart. While filming, Ryan Reynolds visited sick kids via Make-A-Wish Foundation as Deadpool. So imagine doing that in the suit. He visited kids in the suit, which I think is really sweet. And I also remember he pretty much got to hang out with kids in 2015 for Halloween in the Deadpool suit. I think Andrew Garfield must have confirmed this, because I actually was friends with Andrew Garfield on Facebook back in 2015, but unfortunately his account was taken down due to verification reasons, which I think is really sad. And now I don't know if I can even find the real Andrew Garfield, or if I even had a conversation with the real Andrew Garfield. And now I might be having, and of course, if I try to send a friend request to anyone with anyone on Facebook who might be Andrew Garfield, I might just be talking to a scammer, which is unfortunate. Now, the Deadpool costume originally had a muscle layer underneath, but it had to be removed. Ryan Reynolds was so muscular, the costume was not only too tight for him, but it made him look over-large. Oh, this is funny. On April Fool's Day 2015, Ryan Reynolds posted on Twitter that the film would be rated PG-13, which prompted fan backlash as the Deadpool character often swears and commits acts of graphic violence. Later that day, Reynolds confirmed that it was a prank and the film would be R-rated. Surprise! And of course, I have to talk about who made the suit, but I guess I could also talk about how important Deadpool is when it comes to Fox's relationship when it comes to the Marvel movies. Now, traditionally, for the most part, every single Marvel film up to that point had been rated PG-13, which was incredibly marketable. You know, PG-13 means more butts and seats, which means more money. Also, I did not know who Limp Bizkit was until Deadpool made the joke about Limp Bizkit doing the music in the 90s. Yep. Also, I love that they used the action figure from X-Men Origins Wolverine. Now, anyway, like I was saying, Deadpool was a big game changer, because normally the films beforehand, whenever a Marvel movie produced by Fox was released in theaters, they were traditionally rated PG-13. The only time that Fox had dabbled in the R rating was when Fox released a director's cut to Daredevil. The director's cut to Daredevil is rated R, and it was one of the few times Fox ever released a Marvel film with an R rating, and probably one of the only time that Daredevil ever got an R rating as well. And also, the Wolverine, released in 2013, got an unrated cut, which is kind of close to as close to an R rating as it would get. But aside from that, the Fox Marvel movies were known for mainly being rated PG-13. Deadpool was the first official theatrical Marvel movie produced by Fox to gain an R rating, which was a big deal and keeps faithful to the spirit of Deadpool. And of course, well, as you know, The Punisher from 1989, starring Dolph Lundgren, was the first official Marvel movie to be released with an R rating. But I think technically that film was released straight to video. The first theatrical R-rated Marvel movie was, of course, Blade, starring Wesley Snipes, which was a big impact. And as I've said many times before, the first Deadpool film would not have been possible without the success of Blade. Without the success of Blade, we wouldn't have X-Men, we wouldn't have Spider-Man, we wouldn't have the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and we wouldn't have films like Deadpool and Black Panther. And so it's very impactful. That's how impactful that Blade is. But, yeah. Weasel's got you hooked. Now, Ryan Reynolds has said that Deadpool will be the last comic book character he will ever portray. However, he doesn't object to future Deadpool sequels and or cameos. Now, Ryan Reynolds was involved with revising the script with the writers. Cast members were allowed to improvise in some scenes. which I think works to the film's benefit. Now, of course, in the scenes where he is dealing with the stalker pizza delivery guy Jeremy, Wade is wearing a t-shirt with a portrait of B. Arthur on the front. This is a reference to the fact that in the comics, Deadpool has an affection for B. Arthur and the Golden Girls. According to Ryan Reynolds, on the Blu-ray commentary track, it cost $10,000, which went to charity to get approval to use the image. The opening credits was originally a placeholder, but Tim Miller found the parody titles funny enough to put in the movie. As a bonus, due to no actual names being in it, the filmmakers were not required to abide by guild rules about crew and actor credits. Also, the film was shot in 48 days. That's impressive. Now, Ryan Reynolds has confirmed that this film is his favorite film of his own, as he got to improvise in several scenes. Which is fair, you know? But yeah, the film had a lower budget than any of the X-Men, Iron Man, Avengers, or Captain America movies. I mean, this is true when you compare the budget to Deadpool to the budget to X-Men, the first movie. And I also have to adjust for inflation as well. Deadpool became the first R-rated movie to have a 3-day opening weekend of over $100 million at the U.S. box office. While films such as The Matrix Reloaded and The Passion of the Christ had earned well over $100 million by the end of their first full weekend of release, those movies had opened wide on the Wednesdays before the official opening weekend. Deadpool only had some 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. screenings before its Friday-wide release. There was going to be a running gag involving Wade and the other bar patrons betting money on how Amy Winehouse would die. This was cut because Winehouse actually did die sometime after the script was written, making the joke both irrelevant and, of course, insensitive. And yeah, I kinda have to agree. I think they dodged the bullet with that one. I mean, then again, ironically, the third film would start with Wade Wilson desecrating the skeletal corpse of Logan. So, I don't know. Deadpool mentions that he looks like he was bitten by a radioactive Shar-Pei. In one issue of the Deadpool comic, I'm not sure which one, Deadpool states that he looks like a cross between Ryan Reynolds and a Shar-Pei. Now, Rob Liefeld has been open about the fact that he took the name for the character from the final Dirty Harry movie, The Deadpool, released in 1988. Yeah, famous last words. Oof, I hope the owner of that car was insured. He probably was. Now, as I mentioned in my review, costumes were done by Angus Strathy. He's done costume designs for Moulin Rouge, Queen of the Damned starring the late Aaliyah, Catwoman starring Halle Berry, 3 episodes of Tin Man, Aliens vs. Predator Requiem, Tooth Fairy starring Dwayne Johnson, The Boy Who Cried Werewolf, the live-action Fairly Odd Parents movies, Grow Up Timmy Turner and A Fairly Odd Christmas, The Age of Adeline, 8 episodes of A Series of Unfortunate Events for Netflix, 10 episodes of Lost in Space, 36 episodes of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and 34 episodes of Kung Fu and Eternity, starring Elizabeth Olsen. Now, Negasonic Teenage Warhead, her real name, Ellie Phimister, made her comic book debut in number 115 of New X-Men in August of 2000, created by Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely. I kind of forget that those two were best known for working on All Star Superman. He did. Now, in the comics, Negasonic Teenage Warhead is actually a telepath and precognitive mutant. Her abilities were changed for the film due to the fact that the writers thought that by having explosive powers, it would fit more with her name. And you know what? That's a good change. I'm fine with that. And this was my first introduction to Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Okay, when he called Charles Xavier a Heaven's Gate looking motherfucker, I thought that for a moment he was referencing Patrick Stewart, and that Patrick Stewart was that Patrick Stewart starred in the 1980s movie Heaven's Gate, which was, a film. Heaven's Gate is so bad that it bombed so horribly, it damaged the reputation of the director, and add insult to injury, it bankrupted its distributor, United Artists, and pretty much United Artists was so bankrupt that that MGM immediately bought United Artists. Oof. Yeah, it's like, this is Colossus being reasonable. Now, Reynolds describes Deadpool's breaking the fourth wall ability as a reflection of current times. This is what he has to say. I think Deadpool is coming along at the right time because it's speaking to that generation that has seen all these comic book films and enjoyed them all. It's speaking to them as though the guy in that red suit is one of them. It's like watching a DVD commentary by someone who's got some pop culture savvy and is kind of funny and a little obnoxious and is saying the things that you wouldn't say. You know what? I'm going to say it. All right, so 127 hours. 127 hours. Yeah. Yeah. Aaron Ralston was a fucking dumbass. I mean, it's kind of his fault he ended up in the situation that he did, and if he hadn't gone hiking that day, he wouldn't have lost his hand. So this is kind of his. So him lose. Aaron Ralston losing his hand is kind of his own fault. He could have avoided it if he, hadn't gone hiking and he wouldn't have been trapped. So, yeah, it's his own fault. So, quit acting like he's so inspirational. Now, Wire was initially going to appear as a henchman to Ajax, but was cut primarily for budgetary reasons as his powers required complicated visual effects. Cable was considered for an appearance as well, but it was decided that he would work better in the sequel in which he appears as a main character. That clip of Reynolds requesting his suit not be green or animated, I wanted to use that clip for my review of Deadpool, but I think I couldn't use that clip either. You can imagine how disgruntled I was. Hey, look, kids, it's a falling star. Well, another falling star. Make a wish. But yes, that's Angel Dust, whose real name is Christine. And Angel Dust made her comic book debut in Morlocks #1 in June of 2002, created by Jeff Johns and Sean Martinbraugh. And, yeah. So, according to the comics, yeah, technically, Christine, aka Angel Dust, is actually a Morlock. And, but yeah, Morlocks are usually the deformed mutants who can't even be seen, and who refuse to be seen in polite society. Now, on Halloween, Ryan. Yep, I pretty much mentioned what he did on Halloween. Never mind. But here's an interesting coincidence regarding Gina Carano. I mean, I don't like her. Okay, that's not the fact. But coincidentally, Gina Carano collaborated with Magneto actor Michael Fassbender in the 2011 action thriller Haywire, which was directed by Steven Soderbergh. I thought that was pretty interesting. Even though she's a mutant in the comics. Now, Deadpool's origins, I'm going to... Well, okay, before I mention his origins, I'm going to speculate that the serum that Ajax puts into Wade's bloodstream contains elements of Logan's DNA, which contains his healing factor. Hence the healing factor. He's like, wait, really? Well, now I've got to look. Let me look. Do I? Could you... Okay, anyway, Deadpool's origins were introduced in the comics in Deadpool and Death Annual Number 1, published on New Year's Day in 1998, written by Joe Kelly and illustrated by Steve Harris. Francis, of course, wasn't the only one responsible for torturing Wade in the comics. Wade was tortured by Dr. Emerus Kilbrew, who made his comic book debut in Deadpool Sins of the Past Number 1, published in August of 1994, created by Mark Waid and Ian Churchill. Ian Churchill is not related to Winston Churchill, but I'm sure you knew that. Ugh, that is so sadistic. And I have to remind you, as I said in my review, Francis is torturing a guy with fucking cancer. What an asshole! Yep, I mean, I was tempted to use the clip of Adam Sandler yelling, "What an asshole," but me saying "what an asshole" like that kind of makes sense. Now, the film was appropriately released 25 years after Deadpool first made his comic book debut. And I still think it's sweet that despite the R rating, Reynolds entertained children sick with cancer while shooting this film and put some of them in small roles in the film. And Reynolds was already a huge fan of the character Deadpool long before this movie was considered by the studio, and read the comics for nearly a decade. And of course, we all know how it all went with X-Men Origins Wolverine. And Reynolds decided to produce and finance part of this film as both a way to satisfy his own desire to play his favorite comic book character, and as an apology to other fans who were disappointed by the previous film. What's the matter, dog? You embarrassed? This dude's an Ajax. His real name is Francis. And Francis lives at home with both parents. And Francis' parents have a real good marriage. Ryan Reynolds is the first actor to be nominated for a Golden Glove for playing a Marvel character in this film. Okay, so China refused to grant a certificate so the film could be shown in the country. While China's film import market is best known for supporting or blocking films based on how they present Chinese characters and stories where applicable, that was not a factor with Deadpool, as China also often censors out extreme violence, profanity, and sex from movies before release, and this film contains a large amount of all three. While the Chinese censors did consider such an edit here, they ultimately decided that the cuts needed to make Deadpool into a general audience picture would make it incomprehensible, and thus decided not to have the film in Chinese theaters at all. Bummer. Now, Reynolds stated in an interview that the very first thing that they put in the script was Angel of the Morning. Oh, I did not realize this, and now I realize the pizza boxes that are delivered are marked Feige's Famous, which of course a reference to Kevin Feige, my stars and ganders. I'll talk about the costume later. Now, Reynolds' wife, Blake Lively, is often on planes where Deadpool happens to be playing, which she compared to torture because of the love scenes. She said their daughter hugs the screen and says, "Dada," thinking it's FaceTime. Yeah, which I think is sweet. Weekend, oh, like I said, your daily reminder that Ajax is a fucking asshole. Anyway, also, yes, this particular scene where Ryan's no, not Ryan, where Wade's transformation gets triggered being in that septic tank. I tried to use this clip in the review, but of course, and I muted it, but I was not. But that didn't matter because I couldn't use the clip, much to my chagrin. Also, the one thing I like about Wade's disfigured appearance is that this is all practical, and I love that it's made with practical makeup effects. Now, applying the prosthetic makeup, which consisted of medical grade silicone, took 7 to 8 hours to put on Ryan Reynolds through his face and the rest of his upper body and arms and such. The makeup was done by Bill Corso, who won an Oscar with Valley O'Reilly for their work on Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, the theatrically released film starring Jim Carrey. He has done makeup on Garbage Pail Kids, Slumber Party Massacre 2, the Blob remake from the 1980s, 4 episodes of the Stand miniseries, Species, 3 episodes of the Shining miniseries, Batman and Robin, Amistad, Man on the Moon, Galaxy Quest, Dreamcatcher, Enchanted, John Carter of Mars, Second Unit for The Amazing Spider-Man, A Million Ways to Die in the West, Foxcatcher, Kong Skull Island, Zombieland Double Tap, Terminator Dark Fate, Sonic, Bill and Ted Face the Music, and the recent Michael Jackson biopic movie. Now, Bill Corso has been doing makeup for Jim Carrey and Harrison Ford for many of their films. Bill has also collaborated with my favorite makeup artist, Rick Baker, 7 times. Together, Bill Corso and Rick Baker worked on Gremlins 2, The New Batch, Life, the How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the 2000 movie, the Planet of the Apes movie directed by Tim Burton, The Haunted Mansion, Click, and the Wolfman remake from 2010. And like I said, this makeup is amazing. Jeez, she's coming at him like he's from Disney. But yeah, this is Ryan Reynolds' 5th time in a comic book movie and his 2nd time playing Wade Wilson. We all know he was Hannibal King in Blade Trinity and played Wade in X-Men Origins Wolverine, and he played Hal Jordan in Green Lantern and Nick Walker in Dark Horse's R.I.P.D. Also, I need to point out something hilariously ironic. Now with Nathan Fillion part of the mix, so far, as of right now, Ryan Reynolds has shared the role of Deadpool and Green Lantern with Nolan North, Steve Blum, Will Friedle, and Nathan Fillion. Of course, you're probably wondering, wait, when did Nathan Fillion voice... when did Nathan Fillion play Deadpool? He technically played Deadpool's doppelganger Headpool in Deadpool and Wolverine. And of course, he played Guy Gardner in Superman and voiced Hal Jordan in many straight-to-DVD animated movies. Will Friedle voiced voiced Deadpool on Ultimate Spider-Man, and he also voiced Kyle Rayner on Justice League Unlimited, which coincidentally also stars Morena Baccarin. And let's see what else. Yeah, Nolan North has played Deadpool in many animated projects, and he voiced Green Lantern in Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths, which co-stars Gina Torres, who voiced Vixen on Justice League Unlimited. And Steve Blum has voiced both Wade Wilson and Green Lantern in video games. You see, in the X-Men Origins Wolverine video game, Ryan Reynolds decided to not voice Deadpool for the video game due to fan backlash. So Steve Blum, who is also known for voicing Wolverine, voiced Wade Wilson in the X-Men Origins Wolverine video game. Which is funny because it had Hugh Jackman reprising his role as Wolverine, and everyone knows Steve Blum is known for voicing Wolverine as well. Anyway, but yeah, years later, Steve Blum would replace Adam Baldwin as the voice of Green Lantern for Injustice 2, the video game. Adam Baldwin had voiced Hal Jordan in a brief cameo appearance in Justice League Unlimited, and he would reprise his role as Hal Jordan in the first Injustice Gods Among Us video game from 2013. But for some reason, Adam Baldwin did not reprise his role as Green Lantern in Injustice 2, and so Steve Blum took his place as the voice of Green Lantern. Well, now I have to check. Why didn't Adam Baldwin voice Green Lantern in... Gotta fix the typo. Lantern in Injustice 2. And the AI is thinking... Yeah, I use AI. But only to look up answers. Hopefully the signal will be functional. Apparently, NetherRealm Studios or Warner Brothers Games publicly they did not cite a definitive reason for Adam Baldwin's departure from the franchise. I think it was more of a deliberate recasting effort rather than a scheduling conflict. But personally, I do think Steve Blum is a better Hal Jordan than Adam Baldwin. But, I never thought that I would be referencing Green Lantern so many times. But here we are. Also, the pizza delivery stalker scene is taken directly from issue number 10 of the 2008 run of Deadpool's comic. The only difference being that in the movie it took place before Wade became Deadpool, while in the comics he was already suited up. And, he's not suited up here. He is buck-ass nude. Now, Simon Kinberg, who is the film's producer, stated in an interview that Olivia Munn auditioned for the role of Vanessa Carlyle, and that audition resulted in Munn being cast as Psylocke in X-Men Apocalypse. But I'll open that can of worms later. Apparently, the business card used by the recruiter reads only 555-0199. This is the same number used as Lester Burnham's business line in American Beauty. And, of course, Wade Wilson makes constant reference to the recruiter being a pedophile. Yikes. Now, Ryan Reynolds describes Deadpool's breaking the fourth wall ability as a reflection of his wit. He's funny and acerbic and a little bit of a head case, but he's also not trying to be liked. He's intentionally trying to annoy everyone. Well, this is funny. After the film's success, Chris Pratt, Chris Evans, and Robert Downey Jr. had congratulated Ryan Reynolds over Twitter. Evans and Downey in particular even went as far as to jokingly fight over Reynolds' team affiliation for their film Captain America: Civil War. The shot-up targets in Deadpool's bedroom are RCMP firearms qualification targets. Interestingly enough, Reynolds' father and his brother are Mounties, which I think is a Canadian thing. Hate fucking. Hate fucking. Now, counting the opening credits, there are a total of 23 fourth wall breaks in the film. Yeah, so Daniel Cudmore was unhappy with the idea of only doing motion capture work while another actor dubbed over his lines. But I say, get over it, Daniel Cudmore. You were a mediocre colossus at best. I said what I said. I'm not taking it back. There were plans for cameos from various other X-Men, including Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, but the studio denied all of them for being too expensive. He can't die, and it's one of God's best jokes that he can't die, except that it's on everyone else. Yes, I did quote Wolverine. Scaredevil. Now, there were plans to make a sequel to X-Men Origins Wolverine where Deadpool would return. However, due to the mixed reviews and poor box office performance of that film, the sequel was dropped and revised into this quasi-reboot. Because, remember, Deadpool is a result of Logan undoing, it's a result of Logan altering the timeline in X-Men Days of Future Past. This is one of the few good things to come out of the whole soft reboot for X-Men Days of Future Past. You know, I didn't even know at the time that Deadpool was a reference to the Dirty Harry movie. I should watch the Dirty Harry movie. Well, movies. But to prepare for the film, Ryan Reynolds hired a swordsmaster to train him. Yep. Where's that Spider-Man fact? I know it's there somewhere. Now, early drafts of the script featured a joke where it would have been revealed that Deadpool's mask was actually a store-bought Spider-Man mask that had been turned inside out. This was presumably cut due to potential legal issues, as Spider-Man's film rights were owned by Sony and later partly Disney. Perhaps this is the reason Spider-Man merchandising was never featured in any of the Fox X-Men films, which is kind of funny to imagine. By a Zamboni! Now, Tim Miller and Ryan Reynolds wept when they saw the completed costume, with Reynolds explaining that we fought like hell to make this the most faithful comic book to movie adaptation fans have ever seen. That's hard to accomplish and a feat, but we're just so happy with how this came out. And everyone knows that Ryan ended up stealing the suit and keeping it for himself. In 5 minutes, which is totally making me think of that joke from Austin Powers where that guy is about to get run over by a steamroller, but the steamroller is very close, but he's constantly screaming, "No! No!" until he finally gets run over by the steamroller. And it's just so funny. Oh boy. Ironically, a fictionalized version of Jared Fogle appeared in a kid's comic with the Justice League. That comic book did not age well. I tell you what. This is before it turned out that, Jared Fogel's a fucking creep. Yeah, also, I totally wanted to use this clip of Deadpool just moving the camera, saying you might want to look away. I wanted to use this clip, but I didn't get to use it. But yeah, even I don't know what the hell he did. Maybe he ripped his nuts off or something. When Deadpool gets smashed into the headrest on a car, he makes a quip about rich Corinthian leather, which is a reference to an old Chrysler Cordoba commercial from the 1970s with Ricardo Montalban. This commercial was frequently parodied, in part because there's no such thing as Corinthian leather. Oh, this might be funny and random. Also, yes, I wanted to use a clip of this very specific clip where Wade goes home. Also, that was nice of that. Very nice of that garbage man. Yeah, wrong guy. I wanted to use the clip of Wade screaming "wrong guy" getting dismembered, but as usual, I didn't get to use that clip. Maybe due to the fact that it partly featured "Hit the Road Jack" and the copyright gods at YouTube wanted to be fucking dicks about it. I think so too. Depends on which incarnation. Now, Blind Al made her comic book debut in Deadpool's first solo comic in 1997, created by Joe Kelly and Ed McGuinness. Her actress, Leslie Uggams, was the first African-American woman to host her own network television variety show, that being The Leslie Uggams Show in 1969. And this one I wanted to talk about for the LOLs. And this is so jarring because Leslie Uggams even appeared on The Muppet Show during the third season with Big Bird. I look at Leslie Uggams now and I'm thinking, wow, she was on The Muppet Show with Carol Spinney as Big Bird. I mean, mind fucking blown. Coonan. Yep. Ryan Reynolds got into trouble when he was 25 years old after changing a sign in Regina, Saskatchewan. He put another sign over it that said, "Welcome to Regina," which rhymes with fun. No, it doesn't. Now, if... IKEA, Swedish for fuck you. Now, it took Ryan Reynolds 40 minutes to get into the suit early on, but he got it down to 10 by the time they wrapped. They had 9 suits, and destroyed 7 of them. And this is what Reynolds had to say. "I think it's the most faithful comic book to screen adaptation of a super suit ever." Which explains in part why he stole it from the set. "I just walked off set with it and basically told them to go fuck themselves. I waited 10 years to do the movie, and if they want to take the suit back, they can come try and take it from me." Now, Ed Skrein is a massive comic book fan, so being able to do a movie like this was his dream come true. And as I said in my review when I first reviewed Deadpool, I mean, he's not as memorable as, say, Ian McKellen and Michael Fassbender as Magneto. But honestly, looking back, he is so much better than Doctor Doom in the 2015 Fantastic Four movie. And at least the actor actually stayed on set and his lines weren't dubbed with a cringe stand-in. Yeah, I know I can't take that back, but it's true. Plus, at least his ADR dubbing isn't too too noticeable. Now, the sex montage. Apparently, Reynolds and Baccarin spent more time on the sex sequence than any other sequence in the film. This was due to time spent on choreography and tone. Now, I have to respect Ryan Reynolds for performing many of his own stunts and action scenes in the film. Apparently, the film's working title was Whammed, named after George Michael's former group. Wham's album, Make It Big, and George Michael's solo song, Careless Whisper, appeared in the movie. Rest in peace, George Michael. Now, TJ Miller felt he was cast as Weasel because he looks like his superhero power is spilling mustard on his shirt, and Simon Kinberg added that an actor was needed who could keep up with Reynolds comedically. Miller attempted to give his character a facial tic, but director Tim Miller rejected the idea. Upon further inspection of the Deadpool list in Weasel's Bar, with the exception of Wade Wilson and Jay Booth, the rest of the names are famous celebrities, listing in APA format, starting with the left column from top to bottom. Bill Cosby, Charlie Sheen, singer Yee, Vladimir Putin, Ryan Reynolds, TJ Miller, Lindsay Lohan, Miley Cyrus, Kid Rock, Mike Tyson, Judd Nelson, Lil Wayne, Shia LaBeouf, Ned Beatty, Rob Liefeld, Ozzy Osbourne, Amanda Bynes, and Arnold Palmer. This Deadpool did not age well. Also, this movie became the first Marvel film to be nominated for Best Picture, Musical, or Comedy at the Golden Globes. Tim Miller felt that while it was okay for audience members to not understand all of the jokes in the film, he wished to avoid things specifically targeted to comic fans. Any joke that an audience needs to look up on the internet after watching the movie is not something I'm in favor of. Marvel characters Cannonball and Garrison Kane were deleted from subsequent rewrites of the script, with the latter specifically being omitted due to budgetary concerns over the required CGI for his cybernetic arms, and the former being omitted due to concerns he would have been a stupid hick character. Now, Ed Skrein describes this film as a revenge story from both sides. Now, Stan Lee has jokingly said that his biggest complaint about his cameo is that he didn't get to spend enough time with the attractive actresses playing the strippers. Oh, Stan Lee, you naughty dog. Then again, he was joking. Now, this is the first X-Men movie where neither Wolverine nor Professor X appear in the flesh. As at most, both are mentioned, and Wade wears a cutout of Hugh Jackman's face as a mask. Ryan Reynolds saw Hugh Jackman as the one responsible for ushering the cool comic book character into theaters again. Red Reese added, "He's like our spiritual godfather." Ryan Reynolds also stole the katanas from X-Men Origins Wolverine. In a fitting piece of destiny, those were stolen from me, he says during a move. Yeah, I think. But yeah, this is the highest grossing R-rated film worldwide with a gross of $782 million, eclipsing the $742 million gross of the previous record holder, The Matrix Reloaded. In the United States, it's the second highest grossing R-rated film with a gross of $363 million behind The Passion of the Christ, which had grossed $370 million at the time. But yeah, Deadpool's reference to the movie 127 Hours was cut down slightly to take out a reference to star James Franco, whom he referred to as Harry Osborn. This was done to avoid contention with Sony, who still held the rights to Spider-Man at the time. Apparently, Stan Lee does not like hero sidekicks. Maybe that's why Bucky didn't return at the time. For Deadpool's scarred appearance, director Tim Miller wanted him to appear fucking horrible to justify his anger in the film, while makeup designer Bill Corso had some leeway because in the comics, he's everything from a rotten corpse to a guy with a couple of lines on his face. Corso acknowledged that the script's description of the character as disfigured, but also wanted him to be still kind of charming and iconic. He wanted to avoid comparisons to Freddy Krueger, and looked to Sin City for inspiration. The final makeup required 9 silicone prosthetics to cover Ryan Reynolds' head with Ryan Reynolds' head, which took several hours to apply, as I mentioned previously. For the scene where the character is naked, it took 6 hours to apply the full body makeup to Reynolds. Corso describes the makeup for the rest of the film's character as pretty simple. Tim wanted to keep it really grounded. Huh. Apparently, while Deadpool was fighting in the car filled with thugs, his head being smashed into the radio a few times, changing the channel. During this action, for a split second, one of the channels it skips to displays the old scene transition logo from the Adam West Batman show, a small nod to the early days of the superhero boom. Yeah. He's about to explode. Yeah, notice how 75 minutes in, the action's just getting. We're almost at the third act. Meanwhile, it took Fantastic Four was just dragging its feet. The film's domestic opening weekend gross set a new record as the largest opening weekend ever for a first time director. Before making this film, Tim Miller had previously directed 2 short films, Aunt Louisa and Rockfish, and worked in visual effects for various video games, as I mentioned. The previous record holder was Chris Miller, co director of Shrek the Third, which opened with $121.6 million. Yeah. Yep, because Weasel is a coward. Huh. So yeah, Mariana Baccarin was also the voice of Gideon, the artificial intelligence assistant, on The Flash. I didn't even know that was her. Now, Tim Miller praised Ed Skreint's dedication to his role, saying he worked really, really hard for fight sequences and completed around 80% of his own stunts in the film. Which, is pretty good. Now, Gina Carano had wanted to wear yellow contact lenses to match Angel Dust's look in the comics, but Bill Corso refused, comparing the yellow eyes to something from the Twilight films. Nope. Now, Morena Baccarin described Vanessa as scrappy and not a damsel in distress. The character was initially designed as a typical prostitute, but Baccarin worked with the costume and makeup teams to make her appearance more layered. I did not know that this castle was used for Smallville. Now, in the movie, The Deadpool is named after the betting pool at Sister Margaret's. However, in the comics, the Deadpool betting takes place at the research facility between inmates where Wade and others are experimented on, since, making a betting pool on who would most likely die in the research facility. Apparently, that was the favorite line of one of the guys at Fox, which I always thought was funny. Let me look it up. Metallic. Yeah, so the castle is used for the Xavier. It's also used in Smallville, Descendants, Arrow, and Big Time Movie. Did not know that. Yeah, so it's funny how I only see the two of you here. It's like the studio couldn't afford another X-Men was the favorite line of Fox chairman James Giannopoulos. At least let it be known that James Giannopoulos at least has a sense of humor. Oh boy. I'm so proud of you. No. Oh yeah, I think the guy in the trunk. 10 high fives, nice. Because of the animation required for Deadpool's mask and Colossus, Red Reese and Paul Wernick had more freedom than usual to keep adjusting the script during post-production. Ryan Reynolds recorded new lines of dialogue using his iPhone and then re-recorded the lines in an additional dialogue recording session once the film was finalized. Lines added after filming included Reynolds doing an impression of Wolverine star Hugh Jackman's natural Australian accent, and another where Deadpool asks whether the professor is being portrayed by McAvoy or Stewart at that point in the X-Men timeline, which became a favorite line in the film for many audience members. And of course, this is a result of having to slash the budget and change the third act, but I think the film does benefit from this change. Now, the writers did not want the film to be an origin story, but Ryan Reynolds disagreed. They both decided on a mix of a modern Deadpool story and an origin story, using Deadpool's narration and fourth wall breaking to balance the darker origin story with the comical scenes. According to Tim Miller, the tone shifted several times in development, with the studio looking for a PG rating at one point. Thank God that never happened. Now, the stunt team had a month before filming began to prepare the actors, with Ed Skrein working nonstop to prepare. Philip J. Silvera said Ryan Reynolds has a photographic memory. He'd do something 3 or 4 times and remember it very well. Okay, this is crazy. In an interview for the 50th anniversary of The Godfather, director Francis Ford Coppola revealed that he liked this film. This comes as a great surprise to many because Coppola has notably stated his disdain towards comic book films, especially MCU films. Oh boy, you're probably going to laugh at how pathetic this is. A few days after the film got its official R rating from the Motion Picture Association of America, there was an online petition made by a woman who requested a PG-13 cut of the film be released in theaters. This request to 20th Century Fox was done for her 8-year-old son who wanted to see the film. Though the request wasn't fulfilled, it sparked such controversy among fans of the Deadpool character and cinema fans. The controversy is mainly due to the attempted censorship of a film directed towards mature audiences for the appeasement of younger audiences. And I think this definitely contributed to Once Upon a Deadpool, the PG-13 cut to Deadpool 2 being made and released. So maybe that Karen got the last laugh. Now, Colossus is described by Rhett Reese as a great foil to Deadpool because he's very self serious and goody two shoes. For Colossus's metallic finish, the visual effects team sought specific references to avoid him looking all chromy by visiting a metal company to look at various samples. They settled on a cold rolled steel with the darker hot rolled steel used for his hair. And he's just ripping his underwear all in one go. But sounds like it must have been painful, like a reverse wedgie. White flag. Now, Colossus is 7 foot 6 inches in the film, but Andre Tricato is only 6 foot 10.5 inches. So 6 foot 10 and a half. In other words, he towers over me. That's a no. Commando. So when Colossus is first shown eating cereal and watching a news report about Deadpool, he's in the kitchen where Wolverine and Bobby Drake were when Xavier's school was attacked by William Stryker, which is coincidentally the first live-action appearance of Colossus. The boots that Deadpool wears are black Nike SFBs, a popular boot worn by U.S. Armed Forces, or Tactical 5.11 flyweight boots. A Fox executive has described Deadpool, the movie, as Ferris Bueller's Day Off meets natural-born killers, which the writers felt was an accurate description. I agree. Ooh, he did. Rhett Reese and Tim Miller credit James Cameron and David Fincher for helping the movie get made. Both directors read and loved early drafts of the script and used their long history with 20th Century Fox Studios to convince executives to give the movie a go. Fox initially consented to a PG-13 version only, but agreed to an R rating after some budget cuts. Yes, Bob. And of course, if you're a Deadpool fan, then you know that in the comics, Bob is usually an agent of Hydra. Given that Marvel owns the rights to Hydra, the filmmakers were not allowed to mention Hydra. Bob, whose full name is Robert Dobalina, made his comic book debut in Cable and Deadpool number 38 in May of 2007, created by Fabian Nicieza and Riley Brown. Yeah, that's very considerate. Which may be why she doesn't kill him. Oh, poor Colossus. Where the sun don't shine. Apparently, chimichangas are not Wade Wilson's favorite food. In the comics, he stated he just likes the way it sounds. Wade Wilson's favorite food is actually pancakes. The main reason that the film is told in a non-linear way is because the budget was such that we wanted to start a movie with an action sequence and have action sprinkled throughout the first act, but couldn't afford to do 3 different action sequences. I mean, at least you didn't have your origin story just be the first 2 acts and take more than 50 fucking minutes. The writers had scripted the action very specifically, every kill and almost down to every punch, kick, or shot, but Tim Miller and the stunt coordinators were free to change this. Now, Robert Rodriguez was approached to direct Deadpool, but he turned it down to direct Spy Kids 4, All the Time in the World. Not a great plan. Now, the word fuck is said 79 times. Surprise! Now, Ryan Reynolds was nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Actor in a Comedy or Musical for portraying Deadpool in the film. Though he lost to Ryan Gosling for La La Land, he was seen passionately kissing Andrew Garfield just when Gosling took the stage to accept the award. Ironically, the moment ended up being talked about more than the actual win. And of course, everyone knows that, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, his ex-girlfriend's Emma Stone, and Emma Stone starred in La La Land. and that Deadpool and Spider-Man have teamed up a lot and are, have a reluctant friendship. Now, Tim Miller's company, Blur Studios, was involved in the early days of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Ahead of the production of the first Iron Man movie, Marvel was concerned that their younger fan base would not know who Iron Man was, and hired Blur to produce shorts demonstrating that there was a man in his suit, that he used gadgets and technology, and that he was a respected friend of more familiar Marvel characters. Now, this is Ryan Reynolds' thoughts on Blade Trinity. Say what you will about the movie, but it brought me great things. It actually was a lot of fun. I got to sort of improvise and goof around, and looking back at it, I was kind of, in a weird way, playing Wade Wilson. Deadpool also has his own species of fly named after him. The Deadpool fly is a species of robber fly, which are assassins of the insect world, fitting for the mercenary antihero. It's colored orange, red, and black, the same as Deadpool's suit, and it shares similar markings as Deadpool's mask. We chose the name Humoral lethalis Sergius for Deadpool. It sounds like lethal humor and is derived from the Latin words humorous, meaning wet or moist, and lethalis, meaning dead, said CSIRO entomologist Dr. Brian Lessard. Also, yeah, this hilarious sequence was my first introduction to Chicago's You're the Inspiration. And yeah, I do love that song. In order to create Deadpool speaking and expressing in this mask, Ryan Reynolds wore a physical mask with tracker markers during filming and recording clips of himself delivering dialogue without the mask for Weta Digital's animators during post production. Now, Negasonic Teenage Warhead's appearance is significant in debut in three ways. It is the first ever live action debut of an original character created by writer Grant Morrison. It is the debut of the actual character in a live action movie, and is the film debut of Brianna Hildebrand, who plays her. Now, Taskmaster was in the script at one point, but was cut for being too expensive, especially since Marvel still owns the rights for him. The character would go on to appear in Black Widow, and boy did they do Taskmaster dirty. I agree. Coincidentally, Ryan Reynolds began his acting career in 1991, also the year Deadpool was first introduced in the comics. Oh, this is crazy. Jensen Ackles was once being eyed to play Wade Wilson, but dropped out due to scheduling conflicts with Supernatural. The end fight originally featured a John Denver song, but they ended up swapping it for You're the Inspiration. It was Tim Miller's idea to add the animated character into Deadpool's delusion. Now, fun fact: Deadpool's the mask's iPads, not iPad, iPads are completely removable and come out with the push of a button on the back of the head. There are also different iPads with wider eye openings for action scenes. This was the cute little characters that dance around Vanessa were done by a French animation artist with a unique style. That's interesting. Greg LaSalle, who provided the facial movements for Colossus, revealed the vomiting scene was the most challenging. He stated Colossus can't stand the sight of blood, so he almost instantaneously vomits when he sees blood. Trying to vomit when you're acting is an incredibly physically draining thing. Unfortunately, since motion capture, like I was saying, you just do the takes, loop and loop and loop. By the time you do 10 vomit sequences, and there aren't that many in the film, but you're doing it over and over again to try and modify that. I actually was almost really vomiting on the cameras because your whole body has to get into it to make it look real. You know, you can't pretend to vomit, it'll look like you're pretending to vomit. So at one point, Tim Miller was like, dude, you gotta stop because you're going to pass out and you're going to throw up on the cameras. That was incredibly physically challenging. Oh, fun fact, the guy who gets shot in the head earlier in the film is played by Ryan Reynolds' stunt double from Blade Trinity. Huh. Now, Ryan Reynolds credited Tim Miller and his visual effects experience with producing a film that looked like others with a much bigger budget. Apparently, Paul Wernick's daughter saw Karan Soni in an AT&T ad and recommended him to her father, who then proceeded to recommend him to the film's casting director. Now, Reynolds was asked if the actors had to sign waivers to allow opening credits referring to them without their actual names, but he says no. As long as you don't use anyone else's real name, it's fine. Apparently, during the montage where Deadpool is looking for Francis, he beats up thugs in the exact same warehouse that Hannibal King beat up thugs in a montage for Blade Trinity. The bit where Deadpool is shot in the asshole was added a week before filming. He was originally going to be shot in the face. Apparently, the punch bowl that Wade and Vanessa were strapped in cost $750,000 to make. Also, Ed Skrein is the second Game of Thrones actor to appear in an X-Men film after Peter Dinklage, and Sophie Turner, who plays Jean Grey, was the third. Now, composer Junkie XL noted that Deadpool only makes musical references before 1990 in the film, and so used sounds from the 1980s, which included synthesizers, and Oberheim and a synclaver for the film's soundtrack. Hulkenborg liked that the classic synthesizer sound was originally imposing and portentous, but sounded silly and weird to modern audiences. The perfect sound for a superhero parody. Yep. Now, visual effects were used for the more complex blood and gore, while footage of pressurized PVC piping spewing out practical blood and gore was also composited into the film for more sequences. Now, Tim Miller and cinematographer Ken Sang wanted the film to look grittier and less clean and glossy than other superhero films, and decided to shoot with digital cameras but add film grain in post-production to keep texture in the images. Sang used Super Bolter lenses and Cook zooms for the origin story timeline, and opposed to Panavision Primo lenses for the Deadpool scenes, which gave them more clarity. Exterior scenes in the film have a consistent overcast look, but location shooting came with unpredictable weather. For instance, the production had use of the Georgia Viaduct for 2 weeks and just had to keep shooting, rain or shine, because once our permit expired on the bridge, we were never going to get it back. Sang used more lighting on cloudy days and less on sunny days to keep the look consistent. But yes, so this movie does take place 33 years after X-Men Apocalypse. Film Illusions made 6 hero versions of the costume and 12 stunt-specific versions, along with 3 hero versions of Negasonic Teenage Warhead's costume. Production designer Sean Hayworth also worked closely with Tim Miller, who had specific ideas for the sets. The production had to be very specific about which elements of each set were built physically to conserve the budget for visual effects. For the final scrapyard scene, garbage was built to a certain height to be extended with CGI, and a gimbal was used for a tilting section of the yard that had to interact with a lot of digital elements. That final sequence was filmed in a naval yard and was dressed with scrap metal. Rubber casts of the metal were made for the stunts. I don't really know these actresses. Apparently there's an unavailable scene where Deadpool is in a pink costume and surrounded by pink movie props from the movie to shill for "Fuck Cancer." Oh, this is funny. Apparently, Nicholas Hoult wanted to film a scene in the Beast makeup where he would shit on Wade Wilson's lawn, but he was unavailable to do that. Probably busy working on X-Men Apocalypse. I mean, that would have been funny. You know, Deadpool's suit was difficult for the visual effects team to replicate with CGI, which visual effects supervisor John Rothbard blamed on its fabric. He described it as mesh that allowed dirt to get into the gutters and the cracks, so when the light hits it, it still takes that orangey hue, but as soon as it goes into shadow, it dropped to this more bluish of the dirt. Yep. There's Careless Whisper, sung by Wham. Now, Tim Miller worked with visual effects supervisor Jonathan Rothbard to design and complete the film's 1,500 effects shots. These were up from a planned 700 shots, with 800 of them completed in the last 4 weeks of production. But yeah, Deadpool is the third Marvel movie to reference a DC franchise. The first being Spider-Man, when Aunt May says, "You aren't Superman, you know," to Peter Parker, and the second being Iron Man 3, where Happy Hogan makes a reference to the Avengers being the Super Friends. But, yeah, that was Deadpool. Woof. I mean, this took some energy, but I am so glad that I was able to finally do this commentary for Deadpool. So as I've mentioned in my review of the first Deadpool film, this film is my favorite. I have a sentimental soft spot for it. And, 10 years later, this film still holds up, even after all the other MCU films. It's still the best, and I'm glad that it pretty much helped make films like Logan possible. And, this film is just great. That's all I can say. I mean, great acting on Ryan Reynolds' part. I mean, it's well acted, well made. It's funny. It's gory. It's profane. It's totally perfect. I mean, the only film that's even better than Deadpool are the sequels, and I can't wait to do my commentary on Deadpool 2 eventually. But of course, I will also be doing my commentary for X-Men Apocalypse, and I also plan on doing a commentary for Disney's The Hunchback of Notre Dame to celebrate the film's 30th anniversary. But until then, I'm your host, Tony the Happy Nerd. This has been Commentary Companions. Be sure to like and subscribe. Don't have a good day. Have a great day.